Does Teen Wolf the movie live up to the hype, especially after its predecessor, the hit TV show Teen Wolf, left such an unforgettable imprint? Will Scott and his gang of friends pick up the threads from where they left off earlier? Jump right in as we take a quick flashback and spell out everything you need to know about the hit TV sensation. Let's start with Season 1, where things began. Okay, began is more grammatically sound, but here goes. Before you can make any sense out of Teen Wolf the movie, it is definitely a good idea to piece together all the fragments of the hit Teen Wolf TV series that aired on MTV. While the series concluded about 6 years ago, we surmise it's not too late to step back in time and get a feel for what's what and who's who of the fantasy show to give our memories a much-needed refresher. Those who are in the know about wolves and their dominant traits know what a cliquey bunch they are, fiercely loyal to their kith and kin. In this show, we had all this wolfish family loyalty to contend with, along with some real patchy moments among characters and their relationships. High school teens have a pretty turbulent time of it as they go through some intense physiological and psychological changes. For one Beacon Hill teen, however, okay, several, but more on that later, things took quite a radical turn. Scott McCall became a snack for an alpha werewolf after a sojourn into the woods with Bestie Styles, and thereafter became one himself. That might just have been dandy for Scott, but we all know high school romances are complicated. Turns out his lady love hailed from a family lineage that boasted some pretty impressive werewolf hunters, including her father Chris and Aunt Kate. Allison Argent's father had one aim, and that was to take down the werewolf who bit Scott.
What are you doing out here, Scott?
I'm looking for my friend.
That's right. Lydia's in your group now, isn't she?
Putting his newfound physical transformation to good use, scrawny Scott morphed into a fairly burly lacrosse player, adept at his game, drawing ire and raising the eyebrows of Jackson Whitmore, the captain of the varsity team.
I can hear your heart beating from a mile away, literally. Now he thinks that there's something wrong, and now I have to keep an eye on you so he doesn't kill you too!
Derek Hale, another werewolf, a beta mind you, despite his elusive nature, imparted to Scott some pretty pertinent lessons regarding his identity as well as his ability as a werewolf.
Think about what could happen. You're out on the field, the aggression takes over, and you shift in front of everyone.
Scott now gained a modicum of mastery over when to transform and turn his werewolfish charms on, which brings us to open the season on both hunters and werewolves. Season 2 has two major events that knock the course of the show on a new tangent. Kate's demise does not spell relief for the werewolves. In fact, a far grislier opponent in the form of Gerard emerges on the scene. For those who don't know, Gerard is Chris's father and the big kahuna of the hunter pack.
I can play the nice doddering grandpa who likes to cook and tell stories and be sweet and charming.
Another sinister development is the arrival of a monstrosity named the Kanima. As far as mutations go, this one was deadly and made several people succumb to their death.
Jackson!
This 2.0 version of the plain old werewolf was finally revealed to be Jackson, who was discovered dead and who was simmered down as the Kanima when girlfriend Lydia intervened to have a word. Nevertheless, the Kanima was more of a ghastly riddle and a macabre enigma that raised more questions than answers. Who was the puppet master pulling the strings behind this horrific entity? Another important detail, the high school hottie and female numero uno of Beacon Hills High School also had both hunters and werewolves hot on her trail, as she too had been under a werewolf snack attack in this season. The offender this time was Derek's uncle, who went by the moniker Peter. He was also responsible for finishing off Kate. The converted Lydia breathed life, in a manner of speaking, into Peter Hales. A side note on Derek. Derek lost his familia to burning flames. He and his uncle managed to thrive. Don't reach for that remote. A lot more electrifying events will be revealed. Back to Scott's love life. While Scott and Allison have to keep their relationship under wraps for the purposes of preservation, they eventually break up.
I can't make you wait for me. I'm not going to do that.
You don't have to. Because I know we're gonna be together.
There's no such thing as fate.
Allison herself morphs into a werewolf hunter after her mother's demise by suicide as she suffered a bite at the hands of Derek. Things quickly heat up between rival factions of werewolves. The two parties involved at the very epicenter of the clashes between the Alphas and Derek's fellow homies are Deucalion, the head honcho of the Alpha Pack, and, well, obviously Derek. Apparently, Deucalion had set his eyes on Derek to induct him into the Alpha Pack. Told you they were a cliquey bunch. For Derek, the cost might have been too high and would have meant certain death for his pack, including Scott. In this wildly chaotic mix entered another paragon of death, Daruk, a practitioner of the Druid path that involved human sacrifice. Not the prettiest picture, we know. What the elusive flower was to Rapunzel's mother to preserve her youth, human sacrifice was to Daruk to magnify and consolidate its power. We don't know where and how we came up with the crazy analogy. The Daruk had a sole purpose, which was to seek vengeance on the Alphas. To unveil the identity of this fiendish entity was a quest that Scott and his buddies undertook. Yeah, we will lift the lid from the mystery of who the Daruk actually was. It was none other than Derek's latest flame, Jennifer. If things were not dark enough already, Japanese demonic entities also entered the picture, making life pretty difficult for the supernaturals with their onslaught. Nogitsune, a sinister kitsune spirit, was very much present, and things took a downturn when a shocker was revealed in the form of Nogitsune's reality that it had taken refuge in the body of Styles, who had probably died. Not so. In the clash that ensues, Allison breathes her last. However, Scott manages to recover his beloved buddy Styles. Were it not for Were-Coyote Malia Tate, we do not know where Scott would be. Not only do the two lay a foundation for a brand spanking new pack, which includes Liam Dunbar and Kira, Kate Argent makes a confounding re-entry, donning the identity of a were-jaguar to seek blood upon her daughter's death. Scott engages in battle with Kate and Peter, managing to bring about a downfall for both. The show cannot be summed up without a mention of the Dread Doctors, who strike Scott's gang of friends. The Dread Doctors have an agenda of their own to hunt down a host to latch onto, to bring forth the resurrection beast of Gavauden, the werewolf who started the Bloodfest. Things look up for Scott's love as he finds love in the form of Malia. Allison also makes a rather flabbergasting return. The last season witnesses a visit by the Wild Hunt. Their path of action involves obliterating people from the memory of the inhabitants of Beacon Hill. Looks like this is one town that never has a quiet moment. Styles is the first casualty of their treacherous plans. The season culminates in a battle finale, so to speak, between Gerard, who is on the warpath, against supernaturals with passion reignited. It all reaches climax with a war between the supernaturals and a collective of Gerard, flanked by hunters and monster Anuk Ite. All in all, the show, with its elements of supercharged action and fantasy, bears testimony to the friendship between Scott and those in his inner circle. Will this camaraderie carry over into the new movie? Will Scott and co. outmuscle and overpower more villains to save Beacon Hill? Hit follow for more exciting content.